It's important to know that it's really important to know that browsers have cache, as they say. And so if you don't refresh, sometimes you don't get the updated version of things. Sometimes even the refresh doesn't work, and I have to go there and actually trash that. And that's often, sometimes browsers don't let you do one trash. They make you trash everything, and that you don't like that because it has all your logins. So just do refresh my page, because I do put up the work as we go along. So this weekend, I'm going to be giving you evaluations, and those evaluations are in our blog center. So one of the and I just want to give you a heads up, I am actually learning myself this session with you, not about Photoshop, but how to build interactive curriculum using Blackboard. And I'm taking a module class from SUNY. So it's very important to know that you're constantly learning how to utilize programs. And so not that I can talk about everything in regards to computer programs, but once you start cracking programs like Photoshop or like other programs, it's much easier. You kind of understand the navigational, what do you call it, scavenger hunt. Where is it, right? So here's how I grade. Remember that every assignment is 5 points. The blog, you're going to post, try to get at least 2 blog posts a week. That's also a percentage of the grade. So here's hyper, progress, final, and collage concepts. That's all I'm looking at when I go to your blog. So that's why it's important to know that all that information should be up there. And remember that everything you do in this class is for your portfolio and for career opportunities. It's especially in Photoshop. Many people need Photoshop work. There's a lot of freelance agencies that will hire you for a day or 2 or a week or a month just for you to work in Photoshop to do the work that they need. And you have to time yourself about how long you can take to do the job. So that comes from experience. So it's important to know that if you get career opportunities in Photoshop, if you say the job is going to take you 3 hours, they will pay you for 3 hours. But if it takes you 12, you don't get paid for 12. You only get paid for 3. So it's important to know you have to assess your skills to be able to accomplish the goal. So anyway, so that will be there. And so I did put this up just as your checklist. Everything is a linear fashion as far as our progress in the course. So we're going along as I'm putting up information for you to complete the work. And every assignment that we have is going to be exactly the same: concept, progress, and final. So I want to talk a little bit about the final aspect, is that you're going to put up your final image. And here is where you say that you're happy with the composite, you feel completed. If you still feel that you're not completed, be sure to say that, because it's something that is for you, maybe not for this class, but maybe down the road, you want to go back and really fine tune it so it has that professional level of expectation. So remember, we're learning, so you can't beat yourself up as you're making not progress as fast as you would like to do. But the more you stay in Photoshop, the more you create content, the more you learn. It's like a musical instrument. Look at all those violinists out there. Trust me, they don't pick it up and start playing. It's many, many hours, many hours. So the thing that I want to do is I want you to comment on your other classmates' final pages. So just pick one that you find you think that is successful, or that you like, or you thought was clever or unique, and just make a comment or 2. This is very important for people who want to get into a managerial or supervisory responsibility.
Could you?
I'm sorry, Louis, what was that? Make a comment on someone else's image.
how do we do that? Like, is there an option for us to, like, could you give
Yeah,
us like?
right here. So watch me. Ready?
Yeah.
So first of all, let's just see what I'm asking. You're going to comment on one final image, right, from a student. And then you're going to include a link. That is through WordPress. Just like you're in Microsoft Word, you highlight the word and you insert a hyperlink. And Louis, at our 3 o'clock session, I can walk through that with you. Okay, because it's really straightforward. And so you're going to come to here and you're going to, let's take Splashy. I don't know if Splashy's with, Splashy, are you with us? I don't think he's come in yet.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there you go, Splashy. So when Splashy is done with his hyperrealism, right? He's putting up his, much better, Splashy. Very nice. Coming along, really nice. I'm gonna talk a little bit about this because I'm a big Bob Marley fan, so I'm definitely gonna give you some feedback on this. So you see here, Louis, when Splashy completes his final, right?
Yep.
You will see it, and then you will link us like this. You will highlight this up here. That's a URL.
Yep.
And then you will come back to your blog, like I just did, and you will highlight, to see, and then you would put that link.
Oh, so like what you just highlighted can be like replaced, right?
Well, it can. No, you insert a hyperlink.
Oh, that's cool. Like,
yeah, that's how you insert a hyperlink.
Cool. All right,
when you're in Microsoft Word, you'll see an icon that's a link. That's how you apply the hyperlink, and I'll show it to you at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, no, that's
very straightforward. It's just like insert image, insert link, and so forth. Why is this valuable? Well, it's valuable because you are sourcing out. And so I highly recommend all of you to take a web design class. Doesn't matter where you take it, just be sure you take it because it's very important and it's one of the classes that utilizes Photoshop a lot. And I have some examples to show you because our next assignment after the collage assignment is a web page design. So we'll talk about that obviously next week. So this is where we're looking at the final. So I'm not going to look at your blog until Monday. So try to work as much as you can on the hyper. As you continue working on your collage, you can jump back and forth between the two documents in Photoshop, having them both open. And the more that you learn about Photoshop, the more that you can go back and fine tune each of the assignments. And all of that is really important. Potential opportunities want to see the process, right? They're not always impressed with the deliverable. They want the process because then they see how you work. And that's how a team is when you work for a studio. You work as a team. So anyway, I just wanted to emphasize the evaluation where I will go to your blog and check off what I see. And when we get to the progress of the collage, this is where we get into a little bit more into the pipeline production in creating digital media. So in digital media, as you can see, for your progress, what's different between the collage and the hyper is that in the collage, you're going to choose 5 dominant colors. And again, this is a website, just Google Adobe Color, and as I've shown you, and the link is above, but you can just Google this, you'll see this social media color palette website that is actually embedded in Photoshop. And this is how graphic designers make their professional footprint online. So you want to become a login, and it's all free. You just become and you join and you add the color palettes that you love. And once you have Adobe, and you do have Adobe, you can apply it to your mobile phone. Remember that Adobe has an app with your phone, with your camera, that if you're somewhere beautiful at a museum or outdoors in the woods, you can take a picture wherever you are, and Adobe will choose the 5 dominant colors. Those 5 dominant colors now come into your Photoshop document that you can utilize. That's really sweet. I was so excited about that app. It was like, wow, you know, so I don't have to use the eyedropper to catch colors. It catches the dominant color right away, and it gives it to you right in your Photoshop document. So Adobe Color is a very valuable color to be able to choose. And some people have difficult with color. To me, it takes me forever to choose color. So I have transformed my wasted time because of this Adobe Color. It helps me because it gives me color theory at my fingertips. I don't have to figure it out. It's just there. It's all physics. So it's important to take advantage of these tools that help you to move faster and more efficient. So these are the 5 colors. You want to choose that for your poster. Then the other one is what we call thumbnail sketches. And I do mean, and this is the professional terminology, called thumbnail sketches. And the reason why that is because they're very rough. And I've given you examples down here. So these are things that you don't need a computer with. You just need a piece of paper. And what you're trying to do is to composite your ideas. And you have to remember the process of creativity is multiple attempts until you get what you really like. Sometimes the first attempt is the best. Sometimes it's the 10th or the 20th. It just depends. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. But clients, I have to say, clients always want multiple examples so they can choose. So when you're doing a poster, like for this John Cage right here, there's 6 choices. So on this, you can see that lots of ways to assemble this particular poster. And that's why we do those thumbnail sketches. It is not a Leonardo da Vinci drawing. It is a rough mock-up, as we say, to proportionately organize type, focal points, and composition. So this is something that will be part of your progress. Now, how do you get this? You can take it with your phone, or if you have a printer, printers now have scanners. You can scan your sketches if you so want.
So that person was putting all of that into her collage?
No, you choose one. So in other words, when you do versions, right? Same thing with music. If somebody was mixing a particular composition, do they want more trombones? Do they want more horns? Do they want more drums? Or no? So you have variations. So the client would choose. So for instance, just my take on this, I probably would choose this one. And then you would go to work and work only on that one.
Okay.
So what you want, you know, for your process, you really, I mean, for me and for yourself, 3 would be perfect. Just 3 sketches. But the important part is for you to, you only need to put up 1. You can put up 3 if you want and tell us what you've chosen. But I'm looking for 1 sketch so that you understand the process of.
And those can be based off of the Google images that we looked up the other day, right? Remember how you told us?
Yeah, exactly. Like I could do a thumbnail sketches for all of them.
Okay.
Those are completions. Those are the final products. Now we're trying to get our ideas together, and this will help you to be able to do that with the sketches. So that's what we're looking for on the progress. And then, of course, just 1 image of your progress. So any good questions in regards to that?
Actually, I don't know if you saw it in the chat, but I have a learning disability that prevents me from writing properly. Is there any like program that I can use that will help me like draw it with my fingertips? Because I can draw oil abstract paintings with my fingertips, but not like with stencil.
You can draw. Now you can actually. Do you have a touch-sensitive tablet, Matthew?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Use your fingers.
Okay.
Absolutely. We're not, you know, this is not anything, this is totally rough, as they say. If you notice right down here, you see how they make the lines? right there, that is just like a scratch that represents type.
Sure.
So, you know, not to worry about any of that. And I don't, trust me, I do not even grade grammatical errors in your writings. That is not my expertise.
All right.
So absolutely, you know, definitely utilize that. I have, right now I have a Studio Pro system where I could actually draw on the tablet, and you could do it with, I could do it with my fingers as I do sometimes on my phone. But yeah, definitely, Matthew, not to worry about that. And that's why they call them thumbnail sketches. Everything's to be rough. And what's good about it is that you can do it without a computer. To me, that's what is very important to realize, is that, you know, the computer doesn't do everything.
Yeah.
And you have to realize that there are other tools to be able to get your ideas down and to be realized. So it is a process, and it's a good one. So definitely that is what I'm looking for in the progress aspect. Any good questions, like Matthew or anyone else, in regarding for the collage progress? So we're going to look at your progress next week on Tuesday. This will get you'll get started on the new assignment. You'll be bringing in your new images. We're going to talk about new techniques today in Photoshop and things of that sort.
Professor, so I'm sorry, Tuesday we should have the concept or the progress for the collage.
Right. So Tuesday, what I'm doing this weekend is your hyperrealism, your concept, 3 images, 3 to 5 sentences only. Then your progress, 3 images, 3 to 5 sentences for each image, your final hyper, and then choose a final from someone that you find on list, which is on my blog. And then we're going to look at your progress in on Tuesday.
For the collage.
For the collage, yeah. So Tuesday, you really should have your 5 colors, you should have your sketches, and you should get started with your assets. You're going to have a lot of questions, because now we're getting further and further into the tools of Photoshop, and this is how I can help you accomplish that. Okay? Good questions. Any other questions?
Yes, sorry. I'm sorry. For the blog, what can we write about? Anything? Like, is there anything specific you want to write
Well,
about?
the blog is, you know, you have to remember, this blog is your professional new resume. The blog should be talking about digital imaging,
Okay.
Photoshop usage in your field that you want to be working in, whether it be web design, whether it be, you know, cybersecurity, whether it be business management or advertising or animation or game design, whatever, or fashion design, whatever it is. Trust me, Photoshop is utilized. The important part aspect is that if you're not really, you're sort of exploring, which is really still you're curious about where to go, then you want to look for Photoshop techniques. How do you do something? Google YouTube. Lots of good, very valuable tutorials on Photoshop in YouTube. And now you build your logging important things that you find that are invaluable. That's what we're looking at for blogs. And then this way it archives for you, so you have a resource. Like, how did I do those clouds? Here's a video that will tell you how to do clouds. Louis, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I got you. Thank you.
Okay, good. So that's why it's important. You know, if you peruse my blog, you can see I've archived a lot of resources and postings that take you directly to where the content is. So now that we've covered what our expectations are, let me go to Photoshop, and we're going to talk a little bit about Rebecca's next. I haven't got my 10-minute screenshot yet. So we're going to be moving into this realm of really using the special effects tools in Photoshop. Before, we were using a lot of blending tools, Photoshop, reconstruction, photo retouching, which is the broad spectrum of people using Photoshop. But now we're getting into visual effects, graphic design, type, and we're going to be learning those effects. But I want to jump to Rebecca's, because Rebecca made a big change, which was really, I think, much better, simply because of the focal point of emphasizing, number one, her marketing campaign and where the adventure begins. And just looking at this, I'm wondering, now you're absolutely right with this, with your new pool. Adventure begins with your new pool. And I think a lot of people are considering that. It's fascinating how a lot of things are out of stock because people are using them at home. So I think, Rebecca, you made a very important differentiation between the resolution between her and the boat. Here's something to use as your advantage. We have a natural depth of field so that when things are closer to us, they are very much in focus. But when they're far away, they're out of focus slightly. So you can kind of, a trick on this is to degrade, like for instance, if the clouds are really in focus and she's really in focus and this is not, then you're going to see a disparity in your print example. Web, as I said, you get away with a lot. Like this could go for web as far as resolution is concerned, but for print it would not, because if you zoom in, you see this is very in focus and this is not. So what you can kind of do is put a little bit of a slight blur on this so that it feels that you've intentionally made a depth of field. Now, if you have an iPhone, I'm not sure about Androids and things of that sort. There is this new camera technique called portrait. So anything close to the camera was super in focus, and everything beyond that was slightly blurred. Rebecca, so that's what I would do on this, is make this be like a slightly blurred situation, almost as if it was a dream, right? So that would help you because you don't have that quality. And sometimes that's what we call the backdoor solution. When you've got a deadline to make by midnight and you don't have those resolutions, that's when those creative ideas jump in. So you could slightly make this boat be slightly blurred. And then of course you would blur the edges here as well, because that's behind the boat and so forth. And so that would help a lot, Rebecca. Does that make sense for you?
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a good trick to remember that. Always to go to that depth of field, like really super focus foreground, and then everything's slightly, I completely gave up remembering how to do that on my SLR camera when Photoshop came around. I was like, why bother out in the field when I could do this in Photoshop? So I would take a photograph of the foreground in focus, the middle ground in focus, and the background in focus. So I would have them all three. And there's actually a tool in Photoshop that takes those three images and composites them automatically, if you have a tripod, automatically. And now you have in focus, foreground, middle ground, and background. And I'll show you where it is. It's unbelievable. So there's a lot of wonderful tools that help you to do the work. The other thing that is all good here is, you don't need a shadow because we don't see the bottom of things. So shadows are very good. And so you don't really need to have that. Other than that, I think it's a really good focal point, composition. I mean, I'm going to be really picky. Let me see, now I can pick this up because I have this. And remember, I can click this and I can click this. Oh, let me get this. And link. Okay, good. Be careful of that. You see that, Rebecca, on the other side? Was that just the way it's good that what you did to darken it, that which is perfect, but you don't want it on the same layer. Let me see here. Yeah. So on this, be careful about your layers. That's the one thing I don't like about Photoshop, is that you can accidentally be working on the same layer of something instead of making a new layer. So that's all, the what you did was perfect because you darkened it, it needed to have that, but be sure to put it on a separate layer. Because I was gonna move it, you see? And then it was like, hey, I can't move it. And all I was going to do was just adjust her. Let me do this. Slightly a little bit more. So she's not, so you can either be that way, right? Or a little bit more. And that gets into more of the rule of thirds on that. So other than that, I think you're, besides those other two things, that's it. The other thing is to, let me just get this back. So remember, see, I messed things up so you can revert right here. And so on this, you see, just like this would kill, right there would kill a print job. And so what happens when you do a print job is you have to zoom in on Photoshop and literally peruse every blessed inch you have. Because when you're zoomed out, you don't see those imperfections, but they will come out. In web too, as I said, you get a lot of, away with it. The other thing I wanted to show you is, you see, you got to be careful about things like this, but I'm going to show you one of the things that you do also in print and a lot in web as well is, you remember those marching ants that I told you about? On here, you could easily just fix this quickly with this. Moving this down, making sure I'm on the right layer. And you see how it's not perfect, so then you come up here. And what you can do is now, this is where those photo retouching tools that we covered, here's that patch tool. Watch what happens when I do the patch tool here. You want to put up here to content aware. I'll do that again. You ready? So you see, at first it didn't work for me. And trust me, this happens to me just as it will happen to you. When things are not working, that's when you peruse, what layer am I on? What value do I have? Do I have the right tool, and so forth? What happened was that this was on normal. I went to content aware. And then when you're in the marching ants, I moved it up. And it figured out what I wanted. This is why we like AI. So you see now, when I have this, and this is how I can help you with being able to have the fix, as we call it. The next thing I want to show you, and this is again fine-tuning our hyperrealism, but it goes a long way in any other composition. So right now, I'm just going to take I'm zoom in because I would, we could do this individually, but because she has those other things going on, I want to just emphasize what's going to happen right now when I use the path tool. So I want you to focus on, see how the edges is. The edge is very good here. You see how that blend? That's a good blend. But when you come over here, we don't have as much of a blend it's not as smooth. So the way to get that is you hover over the thumbnail where my cursor is. You hover over the thumbnail and you click with the Control or Command key, Control PC, Command at Mac, and you see now I have the marching ants. And what the marching ants is going to do is you take your path tool here. I have no path, but I have the marching ants. And up here, you come up here and you make a working path. By default, it's usually pretty good. And it's going to now, you see, you have a little bit of white there. Whoops, sorry, folks. Let me zoom in. See that? That would kill the print job, the white. See, there's no, and that's just because of the cleanup. So this is when I said to zoom in. You really, like, I didn't see it before, but when I zoomed in, I saw it more. So that kind of thing. But watch what happens when we have the path tool. So you want to, so I'm making a working path. I'm going to my brush. This is what we did on Tuesday. And on my brush, I don't want that brush. Got to choose a brush now. Let's get back to a normal brush. Right here. And I want it to be soft, which is good. And it's 200. Let me get it smaller. There it is. You see, it was too big, so I couldn't see it. And what you want to do, it's going to travel along this path. This is what the path tool does. And then, of course, what you want to do is to be sure you have it on clear. So you're turning your brush into an eraser. Oh, don't want that. I want to get it smaller. I'm using the brackets. And so now on my path, I'm going to come down here. Remember the path tool. Let me bring this up so you can see this. In the path tool, when you roll over, stroke path with brush. So it's literally taking an eraser, going around all of the edge so that it blends a little bit better into the background. So watch what happens when I do this. My opacity, and don't forget you have opacity. You see how it took it away, Rebecca? Just slightly. It made the improvement so that when I zoom out, now it's not so hard edge. It doesn't look like you took scissors and pasted the picture into the picture, which we all do until we get the final approval. And then you fine tune it. This takes time and hours. So that's why everything is a little bit of a rough and you don't spend a lot of time on cleanup until you get the final approval. Because sometimes they just throw it away. So that's what's important in regards to the path. So now you see she's so much more blended into the picture. And that's where we show the difference between pros and amateurs. And so you really don't want to see, whoops, sorry. I've got my zoom key, and if you mouse down, you can zoom in and out. So her blending is so much better in the picture. And that's what we do at the final end. And we go around the edges like I did. And I'll show you this example on, when we get into, let's see here, right here. So I wanted to show this. I only have 2 minutes. So of course, you know, I always get cut off when I'm working through these tutorials for you. This is an example of what we're doing as a poster, but this was something that was not, was an in-progress example. And the problem with it is that, you see, I can't read gallery. And that's important. So you want to be sure that the most important thing to see since 1995 is not that important. So there's a hierarchy in type. What do we absolutely must see? What is a subtext? And what is maybe something that really takes time to look into it?